This is the Translating Science to Stakeholders Lightning Talk by Dawn Wright. I'm a member of the Deuce Theme 3 Working Group. Now, the work of nonfiction author and science advocate Sean Otto and others has found that we're poised over the next 40 years to create as much new knowledge as we have in the past 400 years. As we think about how we're going to translate our deep ocean science to stakeholders and end users, especially to inform policy, it still blows my mind that less than 2% of the U.S. Congress has any professional background in science. So we have our work cut out for us, and to this end, many of us are now performing use-inspired science, which is still fundamental and cutting edge, but is more responsive to the needs of society. For instance, developing conservation actions that are science-based, such as marine protected area design and assessment, taking on the issues of deep-sea mining, overfishing, applying the essential ocean variables to these, etc., as well as turning our science toward the issues of capacity development in economically developing countries. As we aim for this, we need to continue to think about inverting our mode and progression of communication. The left triangle shows what we would communicate in a scientific paper, which is not what a policymaker or a journalist, for that matter, will receive well or fully understand. Scientists want to explain how the world works, starting with all the background and supporting details. But policymakers and journalists need us to come to the point, to give them what they need to inform their decision right up front. And we can do that effectively by telling a good story. Rush Holt, the former president of the American Association for the Advancement of Science, or AAAS, has spoken eloquently on the need for scientists not only to tell these informative stories, but in so doing, to tell the story of the evidence, the story of the question to be answered. This is all part of science communication that is sorely needed now in the public square. Indeed, stories are data with a soul, persuasive and memorable, and data are so often encoded beautifully in a map. So here is where the utility and the popularity of story maps has grown recently. And you've seen some very nice examples thus far and are about to see more in the workshop that's related to this talk, Translating Science to Stakeholders and End Users. And the great news is that we're in good company, as this is a thing, this is a moment now, this scientific storytelling through story maps and dashboards and other types of infographics. Even the lightning talk is becoming its own special art form. Enlighten us, but make it quick. And we're increasingly sharing our deep ocean data through all of these apps. A lot of that resulting knowledge is geospatial in nature. And as Tosti laid out for us in his opening remarks about Goose, and especially if we follow the advice of the seafarers, we are, in fact, building a wonderfully interconnected, socially accessible infrastructure that will also provide even more opportunities for science communication and informing decision-making and policy and collaborative action. Toward this end, our IDUCE Theme 3 working group, focused on science to policy translation and under the leadership of Lisa Levin, has had some terrific meet and greet chats with the alphabet soup of organizations that have appeared on this slide in the upper right. Such as, so far we've met with the Convention on Biological Diversity, or CBD. We've met with the United Nations Joint Group of Experts on the Scientific Aspects of Marine Environmental Protection, otherwise known as GSAMP. IOC is the Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission. We've met recently with the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management, or BOEM's, Environmental Studies Program, as well as the United Nations FAO, or Food and Agricultural Organization. Most recently, we've met with the North Pacific Marine Science Organization, or PICES, and next up is a meeting with UNESCO's World Heritage Marine Program. We've also had a short paper that's about to appear in the ICES Journal of Marine Science entitled Designing, Generating, and Translating Deep Ocean Observations for and with International Policymakers. So thank you very much for listening to this lightning talk.